every day we get a new reminder that big tech, not big government, is now the top threat to free expression in America and around the world. That's a big change. It's taken a lot of people time to metabolize it, but it's absolutely real. Here's one example. A couple of weeks ago, we appeared on Dennis Prager's YouTube channel, PragerU, to read an excerpt from our book, Ship of Fools. PragerU wanted to advertise that appearance on YouTube, but they were blocked by Google Ads. The reason, Google said, is that our video is, quote, dangerous or derogatory. Some of it refers to poor farmers and laborers as peasants. Well, that's a perfectly factual statement, common around the world, doesn't matter though. Well, the First Amendment shackles the government from suppressing views it doesn't like, at least for now. No laws currently protect the public from tech monopolies that control the flow of all human information. After PragerU appealed the censorship, Google Ads reversed its decision because they were embarrassed, as has happened many times, and in a statement to this program said, quote, the ad was mistakenly disapproved. But of course, the damage had already been done. We're 6 days out from an election, and Google interfered with letting the public hear a political message. We know about this instance. How many other don't we know about? This is election tampering, and it's far more severe than anything that the Russians ever attempted. And speaking of which, since Google is publicly traded, it is owned in part by foreign governments. For some reason, though, Democrats don't seem eager to launch an investigation into any of this. Why? Because they're in that company's pocket. The left has made it clear that if free speech is an impediment to their agenda, free speech will have to go. And as this show has revealed, there are plenty of people at Google who are eager to use their power to push a political agenda and to change this country non-democratically. Well, just after filming that suppressed PragerU video, we sat down with Dennis Prager and Adam Carolla out in California to talk about free speech. It was a long interview. Here's part one from it. So the obvious question, Adam, is where are we? We're surrounded by vehicles in what looks like a garage.
Well, this is Prager's garage. Look, I don't want to perpetuate a myth here, but the Jews love driving race cars. They love busting their knuckles. I mean, look at the man. This is my warehouse. These are my race cars. And Dennis can not only not fix them, he can't fit in them either.
Have you tried?
Well, I'm 6'4". It would be very difficult.
It would be difficult.
Right. We support the profession.
Yes.
Right.
I do too as a non-participant.
Okay.
So separate, since both of you have been speaking your opinions in public for a very long time, separate perception from reality. Do you think that we are actually less free to say what we think now than we were, say, 20 years ago, Adam?
Well, you can say whatever you want, like you could say whatever you want 20 years ago, but you won't have a job on Monday. And that's a big issue. So removing someone's livelihood because they have an opinion, it's really sort of the ultimate punishment. Like you're just not going to be able to work anymore. You'll be non-employable, especially in this town, Los Angeles. So yes, people fear for their jobs. They fear for their careers. They sort of fear for their families, and thus they don't say what they would say. So can they do it? Yes, they can do it. Might they lose their job? Yes, they might lose their job. Thus, they don't do it.
So if I say you can do whatever you want, but if you step outside the lines, I'll crush you. I mean, is it a distinction without a difference? Do we have freedom of speech?
It's like the old dissident joke in the Soviet Union. What is the difference between the U.S. and the USSR? In the USSR, you have freedom of speech. In America, you have freedom after speech. That was the great Soviet. But now that's changed.
That's a Yakov Smirnoff joke, by the way. That's not.
Does he say that?
Well, sure.
Oh, no, you're right. He probably got it from Soviet dissidents. He was ex-Soviet.
Yeah, Yakov would go,
yeah.
In your country, you can free to say things evil about Reagan. Our country is the same. Right. We can say evil things about Reagan.
Exactly. No, that's exactly the same idea. Right. I'll give you an example. I'm speaking in Colorado State University in 10 days, or 2 weeks, whatever it is. And there is article after article distorting what I have said to warn people about this bigot and fascist and white supremacist and everything that is coming to Colorado State. They prepared the students. I'll give you an example. I wrote a 2-part column about 10 years ago, and because I do a lot of work on male-female issues on my radio show every week for years. I've talked about men and women. So I have, on the basis of talking to so many couples, simply offered the advice to a woman: if you love your husband and he is a good man, then don't let mood alone determine whether or not you'll have sex with him, because it's an important thing to him. So give it a try, okay?
I don't want to jump in, but is my wife still here? Lynette was here earlier,
She
right?
was.
Lynette!
All right.
There's some wisdom being on.
This is my man.
Oh my God, Dennis, where?
I know.
She's not here.
Well, all right. So it's truly helpful. So here's the terrible part. In Huffington Post just 2 weeks ago, a guy cited this from 10 years ago. Prager advocates marital rape, and that's what they wrote in the Colorado State University. The guy, beware, a guy who believes in marital rape is coming to campus.
That's disgusting.
Yes, it is disgusting.
So you all just made a film about the state of free expression in America. Just to jump ahead, how do the rest of us respond, particularly people who don't have TV shows or a 30-year track record of expressing their opinions? You're a normal guy with your own views because you're an American. How do you live in an age when everyone's terrified to be honest?
I think there's only one way to do it. I think if you retreat, they encroach.
Yes.
And I use an example, Dennis has heard it before. It's sort of the NRA versus the no smoking lobby. And I'll quickly do the metaphor here, which is 40 years ago, they said, we don't want smoking in restaurants. And they said, could you guys who are smoking in the main dining area just move to a smoking section? And everyone picked up their steak and their ashtrays and they moved over there. And then they came to those people again and they said, we don't want you with the diners. Could you move to the bar? And they all picked up their food and their ashtrays and they moved to the bar and they smoked. And then at a certain point, they said, could you stand out front and just smoke outside? And they said, well, it's cold, but we'll do it. They stood out front and then went outside and smoked. And then they said, you're too close to the front door. Could you move it down the street? And they went to a park and they said, no smoking at the park. The point is they won't stop moving forward. There's an agenda. The agenda is not get rid of the smoke in the restaurant. It's stomp you out.
At a certain point, you cannot let the left intimidate you. And when you don't, they go crazy because they're so used to being able to intimidate. That's his point, and I second it.
And also, once you sort of put it out there, like you're a country who doesn't negotiate with terrorists when they take hostages, they take less hostages. Once you put it out there that, hey, I'm a comedian, I have a podcast, I say what I want, and I won't apologize, they leave you alone because ultimately what they want is an apology and they want you backpedaling. And if you just sort of stand up like any bully, it's not satisfying for them. I say outrageous things all day long in my podcast. People say to me, how does that work? I say, well, I don't apologize, so I'm not on their list of people who need to apologize.
You're not the slowest gazelle, so it's not even worth bothering.
Right. So
I like that. You are not the slowest gazelle. I
That's
like
right.
that. No, I'm going to keep that.
That was part one of our interview with Adam Carolla and Dennis Prager. We'll be showing the rest later this week.